Hi, welcome back to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, talks to all his super cool creative friends. Today I am in Alabama, live painting a mural for Soul Festival, and I caught up with my old artist friend Christopher Morphis, who is also live painting here. I've known him for over 10 years and he's a really cool and interesting person who crushes it at so many festivals, and we had a really nice conversation, so I hope you enjoy.
While the world is burning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with a positive lens. Talks about passion between the women and the man. Chris Dyer and his creative friends. Darling, ooh, ooh,
All right, well, thank you so much, Christopher Morphis, for joining me out here in the RV parking lot.
Soul Fest.
Soul Fest, you just got in.
Yeah.
You were at Tipper the whole weekend.
Yeah. Tipper and Friends for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then
Uh-huh.
I'm doing Soul Fest here Sunday.
What were you doing out there?
We have our whole team out there just running around doing promotion, and I was doing live painting,
Mm-hmm.
and just really trying to build off that energy. It's a very artsy festival. It's
Mhm.
like one of the most art
Tipper and
centered.
Friends in Suwannee.
Yeah, Tipper and
It's like a
Friends.
classic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably like the most
The headiest
concentrated collection of people who love art and
Uh-huh.
love to buy art.
Yeah.
Essentially, is another good thing if you like to sell your art. So definitely, I noticed that. I love Tipper. I love his music, so I
Mhm.
definitely went for the music. And I love Suwannee. That's one of the first places I ever did a festival and live painted. So it's kind of like my home festival ground.
Uh-huh.
And I've been going there for 10 years. So
Nice. How was
love
the
that
vibe?
place. Really, really good. It was great weather, which is usually a big factor in the festival. So it was a lot cooler than here, honestly, which is weird because we're farther up north. But that the forest and everything there is, got its own magic. But when the weather's really good there, then it's really nice. Because Florida can be kind of crazy with rain and stuff, obviously. So
Right.
we didn't get anything crazy like that, and I just felt general good vibes with everybody. So had a
And
great
then
time.
from that whole weekend that it hasn't even finished, you drove what, 4 hours?
Yeah, it was like 3.5 hours. I painted last night till about 3:30 or 4 a.m. And then I got a few hours of sleep, woke up, took a nice shower, drove 3.5 hours, and got here in time to perform with Recno. He did a pool party at 2 p.m.
Oh, cool.
So
That's cool, huh? That whole swimming pool vibe.
Oh yeah, that was such a good change. It's a completely different type of music than we've been all weekend. And then all of a sudden we're at a pool party in the middle of the day and having a blast. And I started a new painting there. I'm going to be working on all night here. So I had done a piece there for Tipper and Friends, and then I plan to do a piece here today for Soul Fest.
And tonight you're performing for Immersive.
Immersive, yeah, and really everybody from 7 o'clock on is good, so I'm just going to go out there and paint all night. 'Cause
Okay,
I'm
cool.
excited, yeah.
Is that like a producer you collaborate with?
Yeah, Immersive and I linked up really over the pandemic. We met at like a socially distanced festival and then started talking
Like on
then.
Zoom?
No, it was a hotel festival where they had everybody in their hotel rooms on the beach. You know how the balconies all face the beach?
Okay.
They put the stage right there, and you would go. Everybody be in their balcony watching the show.
Oh my
from
God,
there.
I have not even heard that.
So cool. Honestly, they
Cool,
should do
weird.
that. I don't know why they don't do that for a festival because everybody gets their own hotel room on the beach. But anyway, because there was
What state was that?
It was South Carolina.
Okay.
Random Myrtle Beach or something. But they could do it at any beach really if they. I don't know. I think it's a great idea for a festival. But I met him there and just been talking to him on and off ever since. really nice guy, loves the art. He'd actually known about me and been a fan of the art already. So, and I've been a fan of his, so that was kind of cool. And then last year he asked me to do some work for his tour. He did a big national tour, and I designed all the posters, and then went on the whole tour and live painted at all the shows. And now I've just been doing a lot of work with him whenever he does a show. So that's one of the reasons I came tonight too, is because Mercer's here.
So
Hey, look,
Christopher,
I just noticed
yeah.
it says more on your.
yeah,
We both have it on our right hand.
more love. Mine says more amor,
Oh, it's
which
more love too.
more love, but in Spanish.
I know, yeah.
That
Wow,
sounds.
what a coincidence, bro.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
All right, we're united. I did it on New Year's in Peru. My friend Chimu.
Nice.
I wanted to do my knuckles, and you know, and he just wanted me to be more original with my thing, and I was like, well, more amor is like Spanish English, and it's
Right.
more love, and it
Right.
sounds kind of funny, like more amor. It's like
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
tongue twister.
Right, it
almost.
rhymes. Yeah, yeah.
No, he has it, so it's like, all right,
It's tight.
because I'm half Peruvian, half Canadian.
Yeah, yeah.
So Christopher, how long have we known each other? Can you remember?
It was
Where did we meet?
Root Wire 2013.
I think it might have been 12.
Yeah, 2012. Oh yeah, it was 2012.
Yeah, the big one with Papados.
Yeah. We both did like murals up on the stage.
Yeah, that was like such a classic festival for meeting so many live painters.
Yeah, that
Where were
changed
you?
my life.
Where you at in your career at that time?
Just starting out, in a way. I mean, I guess you could say that, but in my mind, it's more like just starting out. But I guess I'd been doing it for 2 years at that point, and 2012 is when I started going national instead of like the first year was all within the state of Texas where I lived and just doing shows there, and then 2012 I started traveling outside the state, so that was pretty much the start of that, and just really looking back on it, I was like learning a lot just constantly. I learned some stuff at that festival about painting from different like workshops that I still like randomly tell myself, now when I'm doing things, or like remind myself, like, oh, do this or do that, from like Amanda Sage or whatever.
Got a workshop on that one?
Yeah, she taught a workshop, and then Mark Hinson too. And I still have like I can hear their voice in my head sometimes when I'm painting, being like, "Don't do this or do that." You know what I'm saying? Like, and people always ask me like, "Did you go to art school? Did you go to art school?" And I never did, but I did go to festivals, and a lot of my friends did go to art school, and so I just learned as much as I could from them, like anything I could think. I asked them.
I love those little workshops
Yeah.
where you can pick up new tricks.
Oh my God. It's so concentrated on certain things of like what you really need to know specifically for art sometimes, or like.
Right. Why spend years when you can just get it all in a weekend, or at least like the gist of it at least.
Learn all this stuff, leave out all the stuff you don't really need to use, and get that one thing you really need. Yeah.
Totally. And since then, you've become a live painting madman. You're like everywhere. Like this weekend, you're on both festivals in the area at the same time.
Yeah. Well, for a while there, I did like tours with reggae bands. That's kind of where I was at that point. I was going to some festivals, and mainly I was just touring around with reggae bands. I did that for a long time.
Like what bands?
Revolution, Slightly Stupid, and I was just kind of like part of the band where I'd be one of the people on stage, like one of the band members essentially, but I'd just be a painter, and I would paint like a whole painting for their set every night, and we'd set up like a little vending booth and make a living that way. But now we're really focused on festivals and not so much touring. I like festivals a little bit better because you don't have to be in a new city every night, which can get really taxing on you, like physically, in all ways. At a festival, you get to go one place for a week, and then even if you're doing a festival every weekend, you're still only going one place a week. So that's a little bit more manageable, like mentally and emotionally and physically, obviously.
Right.
When you're touring that way.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because the reggae bands would be like every single night.
Or any band, or even the DJs, or any musician who's doing a tour, like those are great, and I like doing. I did one with Immersive last year, but it's just the festivals really, I think, provide just as much impact and as getting your name out there or whatever you're doing with your art, and making money off of it, whatever, but less travel expenses and trouble traveling because you're only like traveling less cities. But So yeah, we've been focused on festivals a lot over the last since 2018, 2019, just really heavily into mainly electronic music festivals, and over the last 2 years, I've come together with a group of people. We're about 5 to 10 strong now, of crew members, employees, or whatever. But they're really awesome other artists. A lot of them that work for me and have built. We've built a crew together that they can go to the festival, set up the whole booth. Some of them live paint, so they'll live paint in front of the booth, and I'm not there a lot of times, and they work really well all as a team, and they're doing great. I'm super grateful for them, honestly. um, and so we're just building that up. That's kind of like where we've been at lately. Just that's how we can be in two festivals at once this weekend, as I have an amazing person named Poetry Roden, who's an artist herself, a painting poet, here at Soulfest, and she's been live painting and managing the vending booth and all the employees that work there. And then
I think she was here this weekend.
yeah, she's here.
Okay.
And then I have one of our other managers, Dalton. He's amazing too, and he just manages everybody and keeps track of everything. And he's got a bunch of a crew out there that he works for, or has working with him, and he manages. So big shout out to those guys. I love you guys. And we just got on a good friend who's kind of been in the background helping us a little bit, but now he's our official tour manager. And it's just a huge, it's like becoming a big operation. It's a lot of people and a lot of pieces and puzzle, and it's super overwhelming and taxing in some ways, but like
Sounds exhausting.
it is. But the difference is like, and shout out my partner, Jen. We have 2 daughters. Shout out Jen. She's also a big part of this and helped me start the whole thing. And she does all the finances. So like with everybody taking a different piece of the load, that's the only way it's manageable. But it was all built, the idea was also built around me being able to paint more and not have to like be traveling and running around and doing all these things that aren't painting. So luckily it is a little exhausting, but with everybody helping, it actually makes it quite manageable and quite exciting, honestly, because everybody is they take ownership and pride in their work, and they're really like great, at making it their own and taking responsibility for it on their own, which is awesome. You can't really pay people to do that, but
Seems like you're growing your life painting and your art into a whole company with a lot of people involved. And I was going to ask you, like, does that compete with being at home, with your
It does,
with your
and
your
that's where
family and your kids?
Totally, yeah. That's the
Where's
constant.
home?
I have a house that I bought near Greenville, South Carolina,
Okay.
kind of out in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, real pretty out there. And my daughters and their mom live out there, and it definitely, it's been a struggle, but it's like the grass is always going to be greener. Like if you're at home, you want to be on, out there be on the road. And if you're out on the road, then you miss your
I'll
family.
take it, man. Can you pass it to me? That's so kind. Thank you. Do you want the beer or should I take the beer?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. I'll take the beer. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Festy love. Yeah. Nice. Cold beer for the interview.
Anything cold right now. It's good.
Koozies on top of it. Amazing. Do you want some stickers? Yeah. Couple stickers for ya. Blessings. Yeah, no problem. Blessings. Thanks for the beer.
R.I.P. Charles.
I love that about, festivals, the friendliness and how it's just like nice to each other and just in your beer, doesn't you know me or you, and just like these guys could use a beer. What do you like about festivals as your workplace? This is your workplace
I feel like festivals are the breeding ground for culture. So like it basically is like a petri dish of like all these different ideas and fads and trends and cultures, that things that could become like substantial culture habits or things, are things that we remember this time by, or they couldn't, they could fade away real quick, like a fad, you know, or super trend or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
A super trend, that's the
right?
thing.
That just like hits real quick, it goes viral, and then you don't remember it next week or whatever,
Wow.
kind of. But then like,
What's an example of that?
geez, there's so many like TikTok dances, you know, like different
Uh-huh.
stuff like that, you
Okay.
know. But I think that here is like the testing grounds for that, and things either catch on or they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a bunch of them kind of rise up and go away and rise up and go away, and then some catch on, and then from here it goes more into mainstream festivals, and then from there it goes into the mainstream world,
Like
and eventually,
saxophones and electronic music.
yeah, like just you see all this happen, like dubstep. Obviously, like it's in a car commercial now when it started. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
In Europe, in a garage or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
the festival scene is basically like testing all that because it's all the young people. So they're just like they're the ones that are building the culture for the next generation.
And it's like a bunch of
Yeah, and
like open-minded hippies on drugs
well,
doing all
I'm not
these
on drugs.
weird things. Not me. I drink a couple of beers, but a lot of people do. I would be lying if I'd said
No,
no.
yeah,
But it
but
allows you to expand in so many
right,
ways.
and heavily psychedelic focused drugs in the festivals that I go to, which I am a full advocate for. So like, um, I think that's part of it. I think it's just interesting to watch though, because we've been doing it for like 10 years, and you can see how like uh, they test the ideas of their culture. Everybody does in these places, and then they either bring them to the mainstream, and then the mainstream, as the people get older and they get real jobs and become like whoever in society, they bring that and decide that's cool now.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
it wasn't, it was weird back in the day. This happens over and over again. It's just a constant cycle.
Hmm.
But I've noticed that this is the place that you can test that and like build
Yeah.
that up. So it's been kind of cool. I think as you know, personally building your brand,
Hmm.
which is what I feel like you should be thinking about as a self-employed artist, as an entrepreneur, as an artist. Like, what's your brand, and what does your brand represent, and how can you build that brand, and where do you want to build it at? Like,
Hmm.
what crowd, what niche, what where do you want to start that? There's huge companies who pay a lot of money to go out and not sell anything at a festival, or just to build their brand, right?
Hmm.
And as a small guy entrepreneur, self-employed person, it may not feel like that because you're worried about your next bill or paycheck, and you need to sell things. But really you should be thinking about like what you're doing out there, like what impression you're making and what brand you're making, because that brand is way more valuable than the amount of profit that you make in that weekend or that day,
Hmm.
and in the
It's got
long run,
longevity.
yeah, the brand could eventually be worth, like, it could be an Obey, it could be a freaking Echo, like, and that we all know where that goes. So like, essentially, like, I like this as the best place to build my brand because it's all people like-minded that I definitely, like, in general, agree that we should all be good to each other, be peaceful, non-judgmental, like accepting, and love each other. Like, that's just a general rule out here, and I like that because I've done a bunch of different shows, and I've tried everything. I've tried all kinds of places to sell art. Freaking rodeo, rap concert, I've dealt with all kinds of crowds. And I know that this is the crowd that I love, like electronic music, bass music, some jam bands, but in general, the more conscious theme music and those type of events where they get those kind of musicians together
Hmm.
is a general crowd that I like. I love selling my art to. I love interacting with. Like you said, I love gifts from, and giving gifts too. So
Hmm.
that's definitely one of the best things about festivals.
How would you compare a festival like this? Like this festival, Soulfest, is like EDM, but it's not
Hmm.
too far from Tipper. It's just electronic music,
Yeah, yeah.
but different kinds of electronic music, which perhaps is a different kind of hippie. But how would you compare electronic music festivals to, say, a reggae festival, which seems to be a totally different crowd, but with a little bit of a, blend?
It's just a huge difference in the vibe. It's a little bit older crowd, I feel like, in the reggae community, which creates a difference in the vibe. And I do a lot of electronic music shows. So when I do a reggae show, I actually really love it because it's got a lot more soul, You know, like you can.
Roots and
It's a
culture.
real, it's a band of people playing instruments and someone singing, and you can
Yeah.
hear like
The
some really,
lyrics are more
yeah,
clear.
exactly. So like, I actually, miss it a little bit from how much I used to do it, to the point where when I go do them, I'm like, oh, this feels so good. It's like a really like peaceful, like nice, chill vibe. Sometimes it gets a little exciting, but it's mainly just like relaxing and happy.
Uh-huh.
Whereas electronic music varies. It could be very relaxing and happy, or very extreme,
Yeah.
like metal, like yeah, like headbanging, like
Uh,
like crazy stuff. So like that I love too. I like all spectrums for at different times. However, I'm feeling.
yeah.
You like all kinds of music. So like, I think that that's the thing that you got to be ready for with electronic music is you can go anywhere. Whereas reggae, you kind of know what you're getting into, and everybody's there to kind of chill.
It's got a generalized similar
Yeah,
beat.
yeah.
Maybe that makes it a little bit like less exciting or monotone.
It matters because I know some of those reggae bands so well, and I've been painting to their songs so well that I know all the lyrics. So even though it may be more potentially chill or whatever, I mean, not always, but since I know the lyrics, I'm like singing
Yeah,
them
yeah,
and
yeah.
freaking out. Whereas the beat on electronic music is, sometimes
Yeah.
some lyrics, but in general, it's like a
Do
beat that
you
you're
have a
just
preference or you like them equally?
I like electronic music better. I
Uh-huh.
feel like it's easier to it get excited, honestly, and get me like, even no matter what mood I'm in, it'll get me like pumped,
Uh-huh.
to do it.
Yeah.
Almost all the music if it's really like slow electronic music, that's not usually what I paint with, but
Yeah.
in general, I like exciting electronic music, and I found that it definitely is just more exciting at the show. Like people are more like up and awake and like ready
Well,
to
different
talk to
kinds of
you.
drugs too.
Different kinds of drugs is a major difference in the crowd, and that's one of the reasons that I like it. Honestly, is because when you're on psychedelics or like endorphin raising drugs, like you're way more likely to first like go get out of your shell and go talk to the artist about what they're doing, and you're more likely to go up and potentially buy something, remember them, get their card. You're like super interested in it because you're like tripping or whatever. But when you're on like weed and alcohol, which is the general drug of choice at a reggae show, we all know that weed and alcohol are more depressant or more introvert, send you more introverted, and some obviously alcohol can make you more extroverted, but in general it's a depressant,
Yeah.
and weed definitely makes you more introverted, and and that being the vibe, and then they both definitely help you forget things easier. So if you're trying to remember someone, to go look them up on the internet afterwards and all that, like I did this for years, so I definitely like played the statistics and like figured out like what was going on there.
Mhm.
And the drugs of choice are definitely one of the biggest difference in the crowd.
Mm.
And that's why I prefer the electronic music scene, because everybody's got a lot of energy. I like I said, I'm an advocate for psychedelics, so I love that people come look at my art on psychedelics. I'm sure you do too. It makes it like this whole other world that they can see that like you can't really see just like being drunk or whatever. It actually does the opposite almost when you're in that situation. So definitely my preference.
I saw you at Reggae Rising
Reggae
recently.
Rise Up,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'll
didn't
do
see
that
you.
every
I
year.
didn't. Did we say hi to each other? I don't think. Every time I went to see you, you were
Oh, you were
gone.
there?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I filmed you from up in the stands
Oh,
and
I
a
remember seeing
big.
your story.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
you're performing for
But I
Quality
never actually
Buzz.
saw you.
Sorry.
I didn't see you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we didn't see you in person because you were always like going from stage to stage to stage.
Yeah,
Hectic.
that was a
But
hectic
that was
one.
a huge crowd. So, from my perception, it seems like at least white reggae is huge, and like those concerts have like a big,
No,
at least from when I'm seeing it
that
from.
was a very that specific event has been going on for a long time,
Uh
has
huh.
a huge following,
Yeah.
and is very well done
Uh huh.
and very well like marketed, and in the right place too for it also, because like
Right, Florida,
Florida reggae,
like chill vibe.
So yeah, exactly.
So
So
that one's huge, but not every single one.
they do great. I toured with Revolution Slice Super. They would sell out places, 10, 15,000 people every night,
Uh huh.
It all depends. But in general, I feel like electronic music is definitely bigger because it's the
It's
new.
becoming mainstream.
Yeah, it's way more. Yeah, there's obviously big like Coachella, like huge mainstream electronic music festivals, and then there's underground. It's so diverse, and reggae is essentially like recycled a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like they're obviously the original reggae. We both know wasn't even anything like what I'm talking about. Like what
Right.
the bands that I toured with. These are all bands from like California, different places that are American reggae rock is what they would call it. You
Okay.
know, essentially. And I feel like that always has a good following, but it's not like what's happening with electronic music is this like new genres are being created, and so the whole new followings are being built from start, which means they have just places to grow forever, essentially. Whereas reggae, you know, it all started from like Sublime at this point with all the bands I'm talking about, and they're
That's like a '90s crowd. That's why it's older people in their 40s or even 50s.
and I'm a '90s kid.
Yeah,
You
me
know what I'm
too.
saying? Exactly.
I like it better.
So,
Like I fit better in a reggae concert than here.
yeah. I can see that. I can see
But
that.
not that I try to get into this, but like I'm fine with it too. It's like
No, I
different
got you.
flavors. It's all humans.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
different
yeah.
generations too, and like here it's like kids going nuts. And like,
Yeah.
hey, great. I used to be that way, maybe like
Right.
punk styles, but hey, I also expressed life to the fullest.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, I can't judge anybody out here. So I'm like, I know, like we both obviously chilled out from whenever we were, in our crazy days and stuff. But
I'm not breaking this beer bottle on my head.
yeah. I don't even know if I'll finish this beer. I will because it's cold. But I think that it's important to be out here and like, even though it's like, I mean, there are a lot of young people, but there are also a lot of people that are our age too. It's funny, like a lot of people that are behind the scenes are running things are actually the same age as we are, and
we're the performers at this point.
Yeah.
Even though we're not that old, we're like in our 40s. What's your age?
Yeah, 40.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's important though to be an example, be a leader, be a
role model.
Role model,
Some degree of
whatever,
elder.
quote unquote role model, but an inspiration, whatever. Like to just uphold like certain principles or certain things that you stand for, that I stand for, and in the scene for the young people. I mean, I think it's important not to like, oh, I'm old, I need to fucking get out of here or whatever. Like no one I talk to seems to care like how old I am. They like care what your art is like and what you're putting forth into the community, and
if anything, I think these kids are looking for role models that are not as old and lame as their parents, but are kind of like in the middle. Like, oh, he's old enough that he's got, he's been around the block a couple times, but he's also cool.
Right.
So I can trust, their influence.
Yeah, because I remember whenever I came out of my house, I didn't know what my parents like. I like thought my parents knew everything, or maybe they didn't, but I didn't know what the fuck because of how I was raised, like was right or wrong in some ways, but just being like exposed to religion and different things that I didn't necessarily believe in, and I was just like, what is life about? And it's nice to meet other adults when you're in that kind of like questioning period of your life, usually like anywhere from 18 to 25, and you're trying to figure out what the fuck's life about, was what I was taught even real, and meet other people who kind of have like at least a belief for a good theology, a belief for their life, and they're functioning adults, and you're like, okay, well maybe my parents weren't totally right, or maybe my grandparents weren't fucking right when they told me I'm gonna, go to hell for drinking this beer or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, it's definitely cool to be that for people out here, be that for my crew. A lot of my crew is a lot younger than me, and just be the person that they can look up to and show them how if you work hard and smart and put your energy into it, you can create your dream. You can create your own fantasy world of being an artist, traveling around the world, as you know.
Well, you seem to go like super hard. You're like at every fucking show. I'm like, holy shit, I would never have that energy or even motivation. Like, how come you're so ambitious? Not that that's a bad thing, but like, where does that level of ambition and energy and hunger to crush come from? Is it staying? Is it mellowing down now that you got more support? Are you gonna keep on going hard forever, or do you think it's something you got to do it in your 30s to get enough momentum to then roll more smoother in your 40s and 50s, etc.?
Yeah, I think it was at first just trying to get my name out there and trying to also make it a real full-time job. So in that case, I would need to work all the time. And for me, my work was live shows. I wasn't really like I would focus on the internet a little bit, and I did focus a lot over obviously the pandemic and stuff. But in general, I liked making money at live shows and doing the live performance. I really felt natural and called to paint live as a performance and not like a lot of painters, just bring their painting out and they work on it and it's not like a performance. But for me, it was like channel the energy of the music and let like almost like you're dancing and flowing and maybe like, like casting spells, stirring up energy, whatever you want to call it, into the canvas and creating this whole like magical experience for me. And I don't care, whatever anybody sees, but like for me inside, it feels like some supernatural thing that's going on because it all happens so fast.
You're
And
capturing
there's
energy.
thousands of people there, and the music's loud, and all this stuff's going on. It's just like a super powerful feeling. And so I definitely got hooked on that part. Um, and I always from the very beginning of wanting to do this, like when I first, found out about the law of attraction and started practicing meditation and started building this whole idea that I could even become a full-time artist in my head, I was like, well, what's your goal? Set the biggest goal possible that you could ever set. And, and my goal was like, be the best, like most well-known fucking successful artist I could ever possibly be in life. Like, whatever that means for me, like back then, before I think I was a little more naive, I was like, I'm gonna be the best ever, is what my first initial goal. But then as I became more mindful about reality and life, I was like, well, that's not even realistic. Like, what does that even mean? Because the best ever is
A matter of
subjective.
taste. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So you can never best ever to who?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, okay.
Who's the judge of that?
So to you,
Right.
best ever to yourself.
Uh-huh.
And that's what made the most sense. So now it's like
That's
best
liberating.
ever, yeah, exactly.
Because that
I could
whole
be
competitive thing where it's like you want to beat some other artist, it's like
exactly,
I could never beat that artist to the fan of that artist.
exactly.
That artist resonates with what she does,
Yep.
and I can be the best Chris ever, but they still rather have her flavor
Yeah.
because that's more
They-
resonant with them.
They speak her art language. Yeah.
Right. So you
Exactly.
just got to be the best you and then find your audience that resonates with you.
Exactly.
And
So,
that's like liberating because then you don't have to be in this like competition with your brothers and sisters
right.
with that we're all together coming under the same intention of like lifting the vibes of the world.
Totally.
Do you feel you or express to me how you've observed you lifting the vibes of the world through what you've done? Like when you connect with your fans or even your workers or like
Yeah, I definitely hear from people that they're inspired to like start painting again, start doing art when they see me doing my thing. And um, I have a lot of good friends that are other artists that are just, starting out or have been doing it for a few years and trying to come up with their stuff. So those are some of my, favorite people to talk to and encourage. And some of the most fulfilling, like, moments is seeing those people become successful and seeing them like create their own business and just like build just amazing like transformation of their what they thought they could do with their art and what they thought they could do to make a living off of their art and pay their bills. And that's one of the main things I focus. I love teaching people how to other artists too how to like make art if they come up and ask me. But my main thing that I love to focus on is teaching them how to make money off their art, because I think that's like super more like anybody can teach you how to paint or whatever, but not anybody can actually teach you how to make money off your art. It's a very like specific art itself,
Right.
and so I think that it's like you teach a man to fish, and they feed themselves forever kind of thing, instead of just teaching them like how to like go hustle right now for the moment, so those are some things that people have told me, like that they've used that information to create their own success stories with their art, and that's like where my heart lies for sure, like, and I'm most passionate about, because we're not gonna be here forever, so like it's nobody's gonna know all the shit in your head unless you start telling them,
Right.
and like let it pass on. So I think that's real important.
I like to do that too. I teach
Totally.
in my workshops. My usual workshop is 4 days, and 2 of the days is dedicated to like, this is what you gotta do. Day 2 is the lifestyle of being an artist and all the things you gotta line up around your life just to keep on doing your art and make that your life. And day 3 is like, okay, let's make some money. And it's like a 4 hour speech. It's like, okay, now you gotta get an accountant,
Right.
and promotion, and it's like a lot of things, like the biggest job. Like I think in my career, I'm mostly doing that and not that much painting.
Oh yeah. Recently, I spend about probably 6 to 8 hours a day running my company, and just recently, and I spend about hopefully 2 to 4 hours a day painting, maybe, and that's if I paint that day.
Yeah, well,
And
that's good.
then
You
if
paint
it's a
every day.
family day, then some days I just gotta go spend time with my kids, which is I'm totally happy to do. But the funny part is that's also one of the reasons I enjoy coming to these shows so much, is because when I get up in my position to paint, usually there's so much going on, there's so much noise and stuff. Even though I'm around a bunch of people, it's like I'm isolated and I'm in my own little space. Whereas when I'm at home, any interruption that comes to me
You gotta pay
takes
attention.
priority. Takes
Uh-huh.
way priority. It's like a kid, or your business, or your house, or your dog, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's all these things that you can't be like, well, hold on. Like if someone comes up to me and I'm painting something, I want to finish something. I'm like, yeah, just wait, bro. Like I'm painting, at the
Uh-huh.
show. There's
I
freaking
can't
things
do
going
that. I
on.
always like totally stop and pay attention to the
I've gotten
fan.
really good at ignoring everybody, even if they're like shaking me and stuff, which
And they
is
don't
really
get
intense.
offended or hurt?
I don't really care. I'm painting, so like if you stop me like while my brush is touching the paintbrush, the
Yeah.
canvas, it would be, to me, it's
That
the
he's
same
being rude.
level of you grabbing the DJ's hand while he's touching the knob.
Right.
To me, so like that's pretty much, or like shaking him while he's on the stage, like
Yeah.
DJing. Like that's in my mind what's going on.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point where I don't really stop for that situation anymore,
Uh-huh.
which is really liberating. But luckily, I also have a bunch of people standing around me, usually crew members, managers, and stuff. Ready, their job is to talk to
Talk
people
to
and
people for
promote
you.
and hand out cards and stuff.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
really necessarily ever have to do that part. Just the if people want to say hi or whatever, obviously I do that. But if I'm painting, it's like I'm in the zone. So it's like my studio. It's like being out here is almost like my studio in some ways, and I get the most painting done out here
Right.
and the most work.
I don't have that much luck. If I'm spray painting, people stop me, and I feel like half my job is to connect with the fans who want to see me and give me a hug and give me a stick and
That's cool.
connect enough, and then go back into the mural. But with a mural, I got days, and I take all afternoons, so
Mhm.
there's not a rush. Um, if I'm painting canvas, that's slower, and I do when I get going. But it's almost worse. If I'm open, like say a gem and jam, it's like it becomes like a lineup of people coming to talk to me, and I don't even get to touch my canvas at all. But I'm not of the personality to be like, "Yo, I'm painting. Come back later." I would feel so
I'm really good
bad.
at talking while I paint too. If they're really
Mhm.
going to push it and just start talking to me, then I just
Uh-huh.
keep painting while
Mhm.
they're talking, and then eventually they just leave because they're not gonna. They know I'm not. I mean, not eventually. Obviously, some people just want to hang out and watch me paint too, so they'll talk to me while I paint forever. But uh, but yeah, I've gotten really comfortable with that situation, and I encourage artists to just completely ignore people. Honestly, like all the live painters who complain about, oh, I didn't get any paint. All these people walking up to me. Well, just try ignoring them.
Or you put a T-shirt that perhaps on the back says like, "I'm painting. Talk to me later."
No. I encourage y'all, and I'm doing this for y'all. All you artists watching this right now, I know you are. I'm ignoring people for y'all, just so they know how rude it is when they interrupt us.
Yeah.
And they know me. Y'all know me. So they're like, oh, Morphis, fuck. Wait, I get it. He's painting. Maybe I shouldn't have fucking grabbed his arm while he's making a fucking brushstroke.
Right. No, don't fucking touch me. I don't like it when people are like really on acid and they really get all up in your junk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like I need my personal space. And once again, I'm not a personality to be like, yo, back off, dude.
Never. I would
You
never
know?
tell anybody to back off. I'd give him a hug, instantly. I'd just be like, all right, bro, let's hug it out. I love you.
I would kindly be like, hey man, like you're a little too close and I need my space here. Like I got an aura.
I just like I feel like I can say it without saying it. It's just like this energy you could kind of portray sometimes. But yeah, Lil Rain.
Would you say you're mostly a live painter compared to say a studio painter?
See, it's about half and half because I'm very like disciplined with my schedule. So especially when I'm at home, but obviously out here, if anybody knows me, like all I do out here is work the whole time I'm here. So, but when I'm at home, I have very like specific times. Like it's almost like working out every day. Got to paint every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got so good at painting. Like I never took any classes. It was just like repetitions. For all y'all that want to know how you get good, just like paint 1,000 paintings, paint 2,000 paintings, and learn from it. So I every day 2 to 4 hours every day, 2 to 4 hours that you can like. Obviously, there's days where you gotta go. Like I said, I got kids. I gotta spend time with them on Saturdays. Fucking family day. I don't do painting that day usually, unless I can get in the morning while they're at martial arts. But yeah. So I think that's really important. I thought of it like at one point. I thought about pro athletes and how they train. They're in the gym, they're in the track, they're in the field, they're every day. That's not a thing. It's the really good ones, the pros that their name because they're that famous. Those guys train every day.
Mm.
So if you want to be the best that you could be, it's every day.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's muscle memory. It's everything. Like it builds all that, obviously. So
what's your medium?
acrylic on canvas,
Uh-huh.
and I use water to blend it a little bit, but.
And what's your subject matters, or does it change per show?
Yeah, it's very versatile, but in general, it's like I do take a lot of paintings inspiration from what's going on at the show, what's going on around me, what's going on at that time. Like I just left Tipper and Friends, and I painted this. I incorporated Mario into the painting because I just went and saw that Mario movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the question mark block is a classic Tipper thing also.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, oh, I could do the question mark block, and then I can like hide Mario and Luigi in there.
Right.
And then so it's I do a lot of, I feel like almost documenting what's going on in the moment, and in the festival, in the event, in that time period with the music that we're listening to, and I feel like that's really important. Because not a lot of people are, which is fine. A lot of people are just painting whatever they want, like whatever pretty picture. But like the people that are really documenting what's going on right here are creating relics of this time that we may at some point or may look back and be like, whoa, remember this thing that happened? And this is one of the only paintings that anybody even did of that.
Yeah, you can't show your base nectar canvases anymore,
right?
Probably.
Well, I mean, it matters to who, but yeah, I don't really have any.
Okay.
I definitely either sold or got rid of all of them. I didn't really have that many left, but yeah, it's funny how that can happen with music tribute art that's
like
tribute
Space
to
Jesus
music.
canvas. I don't know.
Right.
Like I don't know if you did those.
Yeah, definitely. That is a funny thing, but I feel like you're still documenting like what happened at that time, and I still paint tributes to musicians. Like that doesn't discourage me from painting tributes to musicians that I appreciate. So I think that you definitely shouldn't be driven by money for it. Essentially, it should be something that you want to do.
Yeah.
So that
you gotta be authentic in your showing of love for that
Yeah,
musician,
whatever it is. Like,
not
don't
just
just do it because you're going to sell it, which
right.
I have, been in both sides of that field and been like, oh, I need to do this. This will sell. Oh, I need to do this. But um, I've, had at one point had a really strong realization that like your legacy of what you're making as an artist, what you're going to leave behind as far as your artwork and what people think that either you like wanted to paint about or you're capable of painting. And and so I think every artist should consider that too. Like, what are you leaving behind, and what do people see as your like what you were able to create?
Hmm.
And that created some issues with me. For I used to paint really really fast and perform where I'd paint a whole painting for a show like in a few hours or whatever, and or even like an hour or like really fast sometimes. But I could only paint so detailed and so good quality in that amount of time.
Hmm.
And I realized that even though at the end of the show someone buys a painting and it feels really good because you painted this painting real quick and someone buys it, down the road that painting's on a wall, 100 years later it's in a museum, all of a sudden your name's on it, and that's the best painting that anybody knows you've ever done, even
Yeah,
though it was like
and
done
you
in
know you
two
could do
3 hours.
better.
Way better, but
Yeah.
it's just like your quick little, I did it as a performance piece. And you have all these paintings out there now, like you're out there doing performance pieces, and people think, yeah, that's the extent of
Yeah,
your
that's
artist's
how good
ability.
he is. While
Hmm.
you're like, fuck,
Yeah,
like,
paint way
do
better
you
than that.
feel you're kind of shooting yourself on the foot by having half your delivery be this speed painting live
Well, I don't
performance?
do that anymore.
Okay.
So I stopped doing that, and I take as long as I want to on paintings. People still think I'm fast, but to me, I feel like a lot slower because I don't put a time limit on it. Um, I used to put more of a time limit on it. Yeah, I slowed it down to like even like as long as the festival weekend. I would like, okay, I got to get done by then. But then like just really like in the last year or so, I've been like no time limits. Like every painting, let's just take it to the maximum that I could push it to, even though like someone's offering me like a bunch of money for it right now, wants to take it, whatever reason, no. Like the quality of the painting is more important than all of that.
Mm.
And all of like your business, like I'm running a business here, I need to get products out and like, but you can't treat your originals like that, it's gotta be
Mm.
like more special than that. And or at least for me. And felt really liberating to
Nice.
like not feel so much pressure. A lot of that freedom comes from making merchandise and having crews of people that sell my merchandise and having that income that
Mm.
frees me up from the pressure of having to sell originals.
Right.
Even though I do sell plenty of originals now, it kind of actually feeds each other because then you're selling a bunch of merch. People want to buy your original, you know
Mm.
how it goes. So it's like,
Right.
it's interesting that now I'm not like so worried about getting an original done or selling someone's original or doing a painting for someone that
Hmm.
people want to buy them all the time. It's
Right.
like funny how the universe laughs at you like that a little bit.
Totally. Well, good for you. I rather see you delivering the best of you and show
Yes.
your potential and quality
Hmm.
to become legendary than somebody who's just like putting out
Who's
like
that quick
hot
guy?
dogs,
Yeah, that painted that. Yeah,
just to like
exactly.
make a quick buck. But
Totally.
then what are you leaving behind?
Yeah.
I just I was looking at this koozie, the
Charles the First.
Crown Foundation.
Uh
Pour one out for Charles.
huh.
So I'm just gonna pour the end of my beer for Charles the First.
Yeah.
Did you ever paint a painting about him?
Yeah, I painted a painting of Charles the First pretty much like 2 days after he died.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty like deep into that specific electronic music scene. I'd seen him, I think, 2 weeks before I was live painting with him
Mm-hmm.
at a show in Florida, and I sent the original to his mom as a gift.
Wow.
And then we made a bunch of prints and just gave them away to everybody at the booth. Like
Oh,
made a
that's so
certain amount each
beautiful.
event, and then just
That's so
gave
cool.
whatever we could make that event away. And
That's such a good vibe.
yeah, yeah, that was cool to like just see the community kind of come together and help each other like through the loss or whatever. So,
Mm.
but
Make the
yeah,
best out of something bad.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me about the collaboration with Anya.
Oh yeah,
what's that called? What's the story and where are you guys at these days?
yeah. Anya is my painting partner. We started a company called Anamorphosis Art, which is all of our collaboration paintings and the merch that's made out of those. And We've been doing it for 10 years. We met each other at Swanee, where I just came from, and we're both independent artists, very driven. One thing I noticed about her, like me, is she's very business minded and very entrepreneur, like showed a lot of entrepreneur skills, and already been not down that road a little bit, like are a lot, working on her own thing, and so that really enticed me to do business with her and create the company with her because she had a lot of strengths and attributes coming from her background in business and running her own businesses, and I had my own like hustle and things that I had known, and skills in painting, and so we both also realized that we like to paint really fast, and we could paint really fast and make like decisions about paintings on the spot live really quickly. So yeah, you just keep going that one.
Good luck. I'm
And-
Amador.
Yeah. But yeah, so we went around the country. We toured around the country with all those reggae bands together. We did a bunch of festivals together. We'd set up our booth as Anamorphous Art all around the country together. At one point, that was more of my full-time thing than Morphous Art, and I was just working with her a lot. And we built each other up. We kind of helped each other grow into who we are today in a lot of ways, as far as live painters and learning from each other. And these days we still work more periodically because we're both like kind of building up our own big, different projects and things that
Yeah,
we've
your
been working on.
independent situation.
Yeah, and it's always been a side project.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes we do it more than others. Sometimes we could combine it with our own projects that we're working on and do it with like we'll set up my booth and our booth and her booth and like all together some events, So we definitely like keep it going, but it's been just like this really cool, experience with another person where we both have the same intentions, that we want to inspire people to know that they have the power to create their own reality through meditation, through being mindful, through focusing on what they want in the reality and taking steps towards that. And we like to paint about that like you can create this world instead of being forced into what you feel is shoved on you in your life, and follow, create your dream of whatever your goal is. So we try to paint about that, try to paint about mindfulness, meditation. It's a big theme in our work. Environmental consciousness, and it's nice because when I really started realizing what our artwork was together as its own entity, it felt more like this, like delicate, like feminine side of my work, or our work, but side of me coming out in the collaborations that I was trying to kind of fit in my own work at the time, but it didn't necessarily fit. I personally, I'm not so delicate and feminine, obviously, and I wanted to paint like really intense stuff and like hardcore stuff. But then I was kind of worried that I would offend people. We're in a very nice, pleasant, peaceful community, so I didn't want to paint like things that are too like edgy but that's kind of how I am. I'm a kind of an edgy person sometimes. So like, she kind of gave me this outlet where I could put a lot of that into this like delicate, feminine, like very conscious, like nurturing side of the artwork, and then allowed me to go like really deep into like the crazy, like super psychedelic, super trippy, like just whatever edgy art that I like to do more so, and it's cool. It was almost like I thought a lot about my favorite musician, Maynard from Tool.
Okay.
And he has Tool is his main band, but he also has a Perfect Circle, and it's another really popular band that he's a lead singer. And that's essentially what he did with those two bands, is one's a masculine and one's a feminine, since we both have those parts. And he talks about it that way. And it kind of makes sense. Tool is like a phallic reference, and then a perfect circle is like, get it, the
interesting.
circle, right?
I never saw it that way.
So yeah, that's been a really awesome dichotomy or whatever, like dualism, to my art and my life as I could, to being able to express it in these different avenues, and to being able to reach different audiences in completely different ways, where my like Morphis art can go to like more of a younger, edgier like crowd that can handle it, and then the Anamorphous art could go to even an older, more delicate, like gentler crowd. But both of them have the same intention of like opening your mind, making you more aware of self-aware, and all that. So,
On your webpage, do you have like, of course, you got your own art and brand, but would you have like a section that's the collabo
no,
for
we have a
products?
separate company altogether,
Okay.
separate website.
Does
We
it have
build
like
up.
a link that leads to
I do have a
that?
link on my site to there, but
Mhm.
we have our own following, and that was one thing that we did. I think, well, not a lot of people have like hundreds to like potentially 1,000 paintings together. I don't know how many paintings I painted with Anya, but we have a lot of paintings together, and we can potentially, you know, make items out of each other's item. We have digital copies and everything, so it's just a lot there. It's its own company, it's its own like entity because it has all of that, and we both put time into building it up, you know, together. As far as all the stuff you have to do for your company, all the stuff I do make it for my company, we split it, and we're like, all right, you do this, you do that, and we'll build it. We modeled it after our own companies, obviously. You know, you're like, oh, I'm doing this thing, let's do it for our stuff.
Mhm.
You know, oh, you're doing that thing, let's try it out with Anamorphosis art, and let's see if it works for that. And sometimes it's the test dummy, which is kind of cool. We can test it on that company and be like, does this work? Like, does this? Okay, it did work there. Let's try it on our stuff. You know, so it's
Right.
kind of cool to have multiple companies that test things sometimes,
Uh-huh.
and not go all in on yours or all in on that one.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so it's a own entity, own separate, own, you know, social media. We're not as active on there, and we obviously we don't paint as much as we paint our own individual stuff. But it is, I think, one of the smartest things you can do if you do work a lot with another artist, to form a separate entity, because otherwise those paintings will get lost in the mix of whose it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's just amorphous art, and it already is a little bit still kind of hard to define that a little bit, and I'm sure that potentially happens with you, like Positive Creations and Chris Dyer. Like, is this two different things? Same thing? You
Or
know, like
Galactic Gang.
their Galactic Gang, right? When you start naming certain things, but I think it could be really helpful if you are any artist out there, like you just end up collaborating with your favorite person. Maybe think about starting your own company, because you could have a brand there that if you learn how to build a good machine, your company that runs on its own potentially, like you get it right, then you can apply that to your other brand too, and you can have multiple brands in this, like, you know, whatever, selling stuff online, having people sell it at events, and like build it up that way. So you know, that's a great way to start multiple brands, is collaborations.
How, where do you do better sales? Online or in person at the booth?
In person, but I haven't put the time or the money into online.
Okay.
Like, I took time to learn what it would take to make that profitable, and I realized that's a full-time job, and I didn't want to do that. I was like, you know, marketing campaigns and whatever, like all the things that it takes to really crush it online. And I realized I just need to pay someone to do that. So I've been focusing more since then on building up the crews that sell things in person, because I was already doing that and I'm already kind of thriving there. And then as that's becoming more set in stone and running well, we're now in the next 6 months really going to be focusing on online. Just rebuilt my website. I had someone rebuild my website. Shout out JD. And we're just going to be going from there, making more, you know, strategic moves to organize and figure out how to make online more successful and profitable. But you know, everybody I'm sure knows, like, social media is like, it comes in waves, obviously, and is like, we all remember what it was in the last like
Can't
10
depend on
years,
it anymore.
and you can't necessarily depend on it anymore. But it's like the phone book. If you get your name out there, if people want to buy stuff from you, they are going to come find you through there. So that won't ever change, essentially. Whether you
Yeah.
can reach
It is
people,
like a yellow page.
yeah, it's like the yellow pages. So the point is, just go out and you know, get your name out there, build your brand, interact, be social, because then those people will come talk to you and DM you. They might not see your post until they do that, but still, like, treat it like the phone book. You got all these references, and I feel like you can still make plenty of money off of social media if you are consistent and you don't worry about the numbers. You don't worry about the numbers of likes, follows, or like comments or any of that. You worry about the numbers of dollars in your bank account. How much profit and sales did you do off of your interactions? Because like I know plenty of people who make a full-time living off of 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers. You know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
I have 30,000 followers and I have a full company where I pay multiple people's, salary. So like,
Mhm.
it doesn't take a bunch of followers. That's the old game. The new game is quality interaction,
Yeah. That
quality.
they're really fans and they
Yeah, like
really
take time to
come
talk to
through.
those people, build those relationships, be consistent, be consistent who you are on there, like put out consistent, intentional what your intention, who you are as a person. But um I think that it shouldn't be as discouraging as a lot of people think. I think when everybody bitches about social media, I'm like, you attract what you get. Like you get attract what you put out there. And like you could still make this work. It's all in your head. So like it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to think, oh, I've been posting for a week now, no one's DM me, or it's an endless sea. But it's a lot harder to get up and work every day and go DM 10 or 20 people, go find people at festivals and get their Instagram and talk to them and go interact with them. Don't be selfish. Like, go fucking show people love. Go talk to them about what they want to talk about, you know?
Mhm.
So, like, there's plenty, it's a massive leap forward in the world that we grew up in the 90s, where you didn't have this world that you could easily just in a second from your
Communicate with
fucking
everybody.
bed run your company and talk to people and make deals. And you know what I'm saying? Like
Right?
you can essentially do everything we're doing here at the festival. That's what I tell people. It's like you're at a giant festival online essentially, and you have all your art right behind you because it's at your website. It's attached to everything you got. So what do you do at the festival? You go talk to people. You go interact. If you don't have sales, you don't have anybody to buy anything, at that point you need to go start talking to people about your art. You need to go start talking to people about whatever so they get interested so you can tell them why they should buy it or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it's do the same thing on social. Just go be social. And you don't have to promote hella. You just have to have all your shit in a line, all your stuff organized. Have your what links up, have your website ready, have everything ready.
Uh-huh.
But that's not the thing for me. It's like the more genuine friends in the inner community that you're building, they naturally buy stuff. They're naturally going to support you if you do that. So
Mhm.
yeah, obviously, like we know social used to be crazy, and there was like a peak in the golden years of Facebook where you could make thousands of dollars in an instant, and all
Mm.
those comments and fucking reactions instantly. It was like some kind of heroin or crack that we got exposed to, and we're all like fucking now just like fiending, walking around like trying to shove the phone in our vein, like you know what I'm saying? Like it's not that though. Like it's that kind of fucked us up. But like I said, it's a directory, and it'll always be a directory, and
Uh-huh.
utilize it as such. You know.
Right. So a little bit of a trickier question. What's your opinion on renegade live painting? Do you feel it's disrespectful to the festival that curates a certain lineup, or do you think that artists should go just out there and put themselves out and try to get their attention one way or another, and that will be the way that they catch the attention of the curators that then will invite you to a lineup?
I think that you should renegade live paint and renegade anything as much as the fuck you want. Like that's how I built my whole company is all one big renegade. I'm just a renegade. And somehow now I've become somewhat official here and there, but I generally renegade a lot of stuff anyway still and just go live paint where the fuck I want. Um, Personally, I am very safe. I have kids. I think a lot of fucking safety things, and I'm very like mindful of safety of all the people around me and the worst possible thing that could happen and trying to prepare for those things. So whenever I do go renegade, I also take that into account. So that's why I personally have, been very successful renegading, is because I'm very respectful and mindful of all the motherfuckers around me that could be flipping out, where they could go, what could happen. And I've seen a lot of shit. Um, so I can kind of like remember, like, this crazy thing happened. Let's prepare for that. So, I'm all for renegading, obviously. Like I said, renegade, 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 do your thing.
You ever gotten in trouble and had like a organizer try to kick you out or gotten in fights for it?
Not that I can remember. I'm sure I have gotten kicked out of somewhere or something. I don't remember anything specifically, honestly, because it's definitely like a very,
Raw.
minor thing,
Yeah.
like very rare.
Okay.
Honestly, actually, that anybody would ever kick me out of anything. It's probably when I first started, maybe. Oh, okay. When I first started painting, it's like I'm talking like months into live painting. I went to this like random free concert downtown Houston. We just bust all this stuff in through security. They didn't care. And we're like, okay. And it was like Blue October and all these famous people. And we like go up stage, set up in the painting. All these people were watching. They had no reason to be there, nothing. And the people for the event were kind of like into it. And then all of a sudden, one of my people who were with me handed someone like a business card, and they swooped us and they're like, "You got to get out of here! No one said you could be here, and you're handing out cards, a promotion." So that happened, but that was like a long ass time ago. But
So you're kind of like, as much as perhaps a curator has decided to invite a particular set of artists and leave some people out just because they got a certain resources, you're at the same time giving them like a free performer that adds, an attraction to the festival or event. So it's not
totally
necessarily like bad. It's just about like,
safety. Safety is the biggest issue.
okay, what
And
what would be unsafe?
just crowds, massive crowds of people can be very unsafe, and the easels can be, blocking pathways, or if there's an emergency and everybody needs to exit, different things like that. Like you've got to be very like mindful of that, fire codes and all of that. So like, I think as long as that's taken into an account, um, it's okay. And there's plenty of ways to be safe. One of my number one things is, if you are renegading, back up, like put the back of your easel up against a solid structure. Like don't be freestanding out in the middle of the crowd. That's stupid. You could get trampled. Like imagine everybody just runs because something crazy happened.
Oh, wow.
Think about worst case scenario. But then like if you but if you have a solid structure behind you, nothing else can come from behind the easel, which would be the worst case scenario. If it comes from behind you, at least you're there to protect your stuff. You're kind of the barrier. So that's one thing. But this is a funny subject because the event I just went to, I was a renegade painter, totally not allowed to do what I did. And there was a very set official live painter roster with a very set official space that I was not allowed to be in, and technically not allowed to be live painting. But I said, fuck them, I'm just going to do what I want. And it's my home also. It's Swanee Music Park. So I've been going there for 10 years live painting. So I just set up off to the side discreetly or whatever, and just try to stay out of everybody's hair and out of their way or whatever, and not be distracting from the official artist. But honestly, it was like for good reasons. Like they had good intentions, because this is the problem whenever there's too many live painters at an event, and there's only one event that's going to happen, and it's Tipper, because everybody in the crowd is a fucking live painter. So like, like everybody wants to be live painting. And when you go to a place like Swanee, where it's free for all and anybody can live paint, it's always been that way. I've been going there for 10 years, and we've never told anybody they can't live paint. This was the first time that they've ever told, not the park still would never tell anybody they can't, but the art director told people not to do it or whatever. So that was interesting. And it's because there's just so many people that would want to do it. Like they did it last year, it got a little out of hand. There's just so many people adding on. Randos just walking up with an easel, want to like set up with and join the line. The line just keeps getting longer, painters and blah blah blah. And they're worried about safety in case somebody needs like the EMS or something. And real safety issues. So like totally like a real reason why like they should regulate how many painters are there and stuff. But this is one of the only situations that's gonna happen because it's Tipper and it's like all the artists are there. So, but other than that, I think that most events don't have live painters and they would love them, like you said, and it's a free performer. So I think you should go for it because, in my experience, like I said, there isn't any other live painters there. I go set up wherever I want, Renegade, in a nice, safe way that's presentable to the audience. The the coordinators, the owners of the festival, the security, whoever walks up to me wants to get my picture. They don't want to tell me to leave. They're like, wow, this adds to our festival. Like they got to see that. They got to see you're being respectful. See you're like not making a mess. Not obviously like you're contributing to the festival. You're adding value to the festival. And if you can do that in a way that is safe, 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10 for me lately, in places I'm not supposed to be at all, they're like, all right, well, the guy's doing a thing. It looks cool, let him do his thing. It's not hurting anybody. So, and the same thing with selling your art. You can't get a spot. You can't get a spot in the gallery. Go out there and talk to people. Go up to people. Don't stand there on the street and say, hey, I got art. No, go make friends. There's a bunch of people who want to be your friend, and then talk to them about your art. I guarantee you start selling it. Like you have all day at these festivals where you're not even probably doing anything half the time because the music doesn't start till night. So that's how I started, was renegading everything essentially until we were like, man, we need a place for all our renegades to meet up. I get to help people to help me renegade so much that I was like, we can't just be meeting at the freaking installation here. We need to get a booth or something so y'all have a place to come and get like merch to
So
sell.
now you're getting more into the system and paying for
yes,
booth
now I buy
space.
official vending booths, which I prefer. I also learned that if you go into an art gallery, collective art gallery, festival art gallery, you're wasting your time. You're not going to sell anything. Like, yeah, you maybe make a little money or whatever, but that's nothing compared to what you're going to make on your own. So separate yourself essentially. Like it's the main factor in your sales being higher at events is um, getting away from the art area and getting into where they buy things. So where do they buy things? In the freaking mall they build at every festival called the vending area. Everybody likes to go to the mall and spend their money. So what you need to do is save up some money, pay for the vending fee, and start to get things that you can sell in there and realize the difference between your free spot in the collective art gallery they gave you for being a live painter that you're not going to make any money from because you're just crammed in there with a bunch of artists that everybody's looking at all your art as one big thing, whereas you section yourself in your own booth and you provide something unique that's just your brand. And also catch people when they're already in the mindset of spending money because they're going to all these merch vendors in a row, and that's where they think, oh, this is where I spend money. If they go to the art gallery, they think, oh, this is where I look at art. It's two different mentalities, and the sales are dramatically different. So that's one thing I've definitely learned about just buy the vending booth. Like, yeah, okay, you get in free. Yeah, you're a broke artist. Like, save some money if you want to make some money and invest it.
Yeah.
Don't like take the like I definitely did that at first, and it took me years to figure that out. So not trying to hate on y'all. Do your thing, but realize that you're gonna get mixed up in the art gallery with everyone else versus investing in yourself to give yourself a spot where people see you different.
Nice. Thank you for your opinions on that.
I
How are we doing for time? You gotta perform again soon?
probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go on at 7 to 6:20.
All right. Cool. Well, let's do one more question.
Okay.
How do you see the current state of planet Earth, and what can us artists do to pitch in to making it a better place?
The current state of planet Earth, I feel like, is a little unbalanced, but I feel like I think balance is the main thing that we should all focus on. There's not really, I feel like, one right way or the other. They all complement each other and like are the yin and yang of each other, and they need each other. Like even the bad parts need the good parts. So it's like hard to say like, oh, we need to stop doing this, or we need to do that, or this person, this way of thinking is wrong, or like, I think balance and mindfulness are the two most important factors that we could learn, really start to understand more, like grow to understand and practice to make the world a more cohesive, balanced place. Because it's not, you can't always love people, but you can understand them, can be mindful of them, and like where they came from and why they act the way they are. And you can't always, like we said, stop all the bad things from happening, but you can increase the good, like, so that's why a lot of my art is genuinely like bright. It may be a little like intense and edgy, but in general it's like bright and inspiring, because I wanted to put more of that positive into the world, because it seems like, a lot of people, there is a lot of negative out there, obviously, and I feel like being more inspirational, being more loving, being more mindful is kind of putting more of that positive to balance that out. And so I think that's like the best thing that we could do, is just like, you're not going to fix anybody's problems. You're not going to teach anybody really anything by telling them. You got to like literally just do it yourself, be the example, be the balance, be the mindfulness, and try to put that forth into the world with your actions, with your everyday, like how you interact with people, how you present yourself,
Be the change.
Yeah.
Being good, and hopefully the world turns good.
Yeah,
By more people being good.
Good is subjective.
We are the world. We are the people. Well, thank you so much, man. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you doing this interview with me in the
Happy to be
middle of
here.
your performances.
It's good to be here.
So you're going now to like a couple stages and setting up and
Yeah,
painting
go
all
to the
night
main
long?
stage and just paint all night long.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much once again.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching another week of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that boring shit that helps this show and conversations reach more people. Until then, blessings. Yo. All right.
Yeah, bro.
Boom.
That was cool as fuck.
Yeah, that's fun, huh? I
Yeah.
love these shows. I love the conversations. Next episode, Max Paularena. What's your experience with this medicine, say compared to Aya, for example?
It's a very different vibe. Like, I love to tell this to people, but if you ask ayahuasca, like, ayahuasca, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow? Ayahuasca's like sends you in this giant trip, and there's like 100 visions, and it's like, in the beginning of time there was nothing, God and evil, like, I don't know.
The bigger picture
like,
of all
I was
creation.
just asking, like, what should I have for breakfast? And peyote, you're like, peyote, what should I have for breakfast? Like, cereal. Boom. Like, it's very direct.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.